Mallam Nasir El-Rufai sadly lost the mom who was sick and was receiving treatment in Egypt. Mallam Nasir El-Rufai, the former governor of Kaduna State, former minister of the FCT, a former key member of the ruling All Progressive Congress, fell out with the current administration, and all that. And in recent times, he has been in custody. For close to a month or so, he has been in the custody of the ICPC, Independent Corruption and Related Practices, you know. So it's been charged to court. He was remanded in custody. Unfortunately, he lost the mom, and we see that on compassionate grounds, he's been released so as to attend to the funeral of his mother. And it raised a lot of controversies as to whether the investigative agency has that right to go against what the court said. That some lawyers have argued that in cases like this, that the ICPC is supposed to go back to the court to seek an order of court seeking his release. Some lawyers have said that the ICPC do not have the authority to do this on its own, while others have said that on the grounds of compassion, humanitarian grounds, and stuff like that, possibly this could be allowed. It's unfortunate that Mallam Nasir El-Rufai lost the mother while he was in custody. The mother has been sick, and I'm sure that he would likely have spent more time with the mother if he wasn't in ICPC custody. So that it's painful. So the condolences messages from the president, from the national security advisor, and from the Kaduna state governor, those who were once allies and friends of Mallam Nasir El-Rufai and now avowed political enemies. You know, so we saw those messages. I saw when Mallam Nasir El-Rufai was released, we saw visits by former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, former Attorney General Abubakar Malami, visit by former Minister, former Governor of Rivers State, Rotimi Amechi. We saw visit by the APC chairman, Professor Yewada Netawe, and all that. And the funeral of the mom will take place today. Some have raised the question that if ICPC really has a case against Mallam Nasir El-Rufai, that this should not have been easily released and stuff like that. So we see what is going on. We see that similar fates is being suffered by Abubakar Malami, yes, former Attorney General who has been charged by the EFCC over corruption allegations. So where in his home, after receiving a visit by the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, EFCC personnel came around and said that the properties is under forfeiture or something like that. And so Abubakar Malami is facing his challenges. Mallam Nasir El-Rufai is facing his challenges. One key thing there is that they are key members of the opposition. They are key members of the opposition ADC, African Democratic Congress, and they are supposed to be actively participating in the opposition politics now, as 2027 timetable is out and 2027 politics is crucially on the way. you know so rather than being involved in the politics, they are facing legal hurdles. I've always wondered, because like the case of Mallam Nasir El-Rufai has been on for long. The states, he was former governor of Kaduna State. The State House of Assembly has been investigating him, and the reports have been released for a while. You know, the former Attorney General, his case has also been on. But it appears that the arrest, the getting them in custody close to the time of election season now appears to not be a coincidence, and to see how that is going to affect the opposition and politics, and all of that. You know, some people have made the case. Some people in the opposition have said that the ruling party is picking on those people who are in the opposition while letting free rein for those that are in the APC. The question I ask is that we know what the ruling party is doing. So, but what is the opposition doing? You know that this is the tactics, this is the strategy that has been deployed by the ruling party. So what are you doing as an opposition? Quietly absorbing what is coming, or holding your ground and making your case known? So those are some of the issues. Condolences to Mallam Nasir El-Rufai. I wish the El-Rufai family, you know, divine strength and comfort and wisdom to cope in these dire moments of grief.